The Secrets of Stargate is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, Episode 7.
Lieutenant West, Jackson has identified the seventh symbol.
All right, here we go. We are about to try to make a connection.
All we gotta do is bust out of here, commandeer the ship, and fly on home.
Indeed. You say that a lot.
I know that this could be dangerous. But this is our job, right? It's what we signed on to do.
It was never about going home. It's about getting us to where we're going.
Hi, I'm Jack Barazzini, and you're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. Joining me today are Father Cory Stika. Hi, Father.
How's it going, Jack?
Very well. And Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jack.
Hey. And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Jack.
All right, today we are discussing the 7th episode of the first season of Stargate SG-1 called Cold Lazarus. Before I get into this, I do want to give kind of a content warning. Some of the themes this episode deals with includes like the death of a child and things like that, which could be difficult for some viewers. So just a heads up if that's something you're sensitive to. In this episode, we get the first planet that does not look like British Columbia. Instead, it looks like a bunch of popcorn. They're on this yellow desert planet, and they find these piles of blue broken crystals. They're all looking around at them, and Jack O'Neill wanders off alone. He touches one of the crystals, and he gets blasted backwards with some kind of energy. Then a duplicate of himself returns to Earth with the team. He goes and he speaks to his estranged wife about the death of their child. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is wondering what is going on with him. The real Jack O'Neill comes back through the portal. They put him in prison. Eventually, they discover what is going on. They find the duplicate of Jack O'Neill, and they end up helping the aliens return to the planet. I'm going to agree with you, Father. We were talking about this before we started, but I like this episode a lot more than the previous two that we watched.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had some pretty stinker episodes that we, that again, like we talked about back then. It's like, can you imagine you're watching this show for the first time, is freshly aired, and you have, broke a divide, and it's just like, oh, I'm sorry. But no, this is an episode I enjoyed. I've always kind of enjoyed it. There'll be things we'll talk about here that are a little questionable, but as a whole, I've always kind of enjoyed this episode. Although I know that's not unanimous on the panel.
No, it's not. My opinion is very different. I found this to be a very dull, plodding, mindless episode, which unfolds very slowly, and nothing happens for 25 minutes. It's like a bad Lifetime movie of the week. Every time Crystal Jack comes around a corner, they play this tension or this horror sting. It's like, oh no, what's the bad man going to do? And it's very, of the late 90s. It gets better towards the end, but plus I have a problem with the way, the crystal therapist, works and stuff. But there are some good moments in it. I'm confused by the title, and I went, I started Googling this. Is this like a song, or is this like a poem or something? Where does this phrase originate? And the only thing I could find was a year before this episode was released, the BBC released a Dennis Potter play that he wrote while he had terminal cancer, I believe. And it's a play where Albert Finney plays a man who is cryogenically frozen and his head is unfrozen in the future. And as he contemplates his death, the people of the future live vicariously through his memories. So that's really only the connection I could find, but it's still very strange that a year after this, play came out on the BBC, they, give one of their Stargate episode titles. But the Stargate episode titles often, there's usually a Star Trek episode with that same title or, something. So they're not always the most creative with their titles.
Mm-hmm. What were your initial thoughts, Lisa?
Actually, I like this episode. Seen it many times. I think it held up well over the couple of decades. And I think it is giving us a taste of what Stargate does well. in that it's a sci-fi show with lots of action and adventure, but they don't shy away from developing their characters and giving us a little bit of emotional a punch. You know, it makes you think about things. It makes you have empathy or sympathy for the main character. So I think it's giving us a little taste of what they do so well later on.
Right. So they're on this planet, and there's these strange crystals, and throughout the show, we end up discovering that the crystals are actually sentient beings that had been destroyed by the gold thousands of years ago, and the reason that they attacked and inhabited Jack O'Neill was because they looked just like the gold, according to them, so they were just defending themselves. But they did, I like how they did that, where they made the aliens very alien, and a lot of the plotting from the show comes from the fact that the aliens are trying to understand human psychology. And so the alien inhabits Jack O'Neill, sees all his memories, and sees that he is very broken inside. And the reason is because his son, Charlie, had died a couple of years previous, which is covered both in the movie and then in the start of the show in Children of the Gods. So the crystal, I was going to say crystal and entity, but that's something different. The crystal version of Jack O'Neill goes back to his wife, Sarah, and that was really the best part of the episode, I thought, was him dealing with the grief from losing his son and how they worked through that. There's some stuff at the end that I didn't really like how they handled that, but I thought that the way they were walking through that was interesting.
And Emily, one of the things I do like about it is we get to know more about how this affected Jack. Now, of course, go all the way back to the movie, and he was basically suicidal. I mean, he volunteered for a suicide mission willingly at that moment. And we get to find out more of kind of where he was at and the fact that he basically, shut himself off from the world. We didn't quite get that impression, at least I didn't, from Children of the Gods, that when they came back to pull him back to the Stargate mission, the reason why he was sitting there looking at the stars is because he had shut himself off from the world. But then we kind of hear more that's actually what he did. He came back from Abydos that first time and basically, I'm done. I'm out of here. I don't want to see another person. I'm just going to go live my life as best I can.
Until he goes to the wormhole, meets some aliens. They scan his mind, read his memories, help him process his grief, ask him, why do you exist here? Oh, no, wait, that's the premiere of Deep Space Nine. No, so there's definitely parallels to, the first couple of episodes of Deep Space Nine. I don't know if that's conscious or not, but yeah, so it's 1997 and there's not a single crystal method joke in there, just for techno fans. But no, I do think Harley Jane Kozak was very good in this role, and they definitely should have brought her back a lot more in that role.
Mm-hmm. That is one of the complaints I have about this, though, is this would have been the perfect opportunity for her to be a support for Jack and to have, have their relationship mended. No, not really.
Right. That was my biggest problem with it, is that they set it up like they're going to get back together. But then, and of course, I've not seen the rest of the show, so I don't know if that happens. But just based on how this played out, it did not seem like they were leading up to that.
About it, the alien and Sarah dealt with grief and dealt with their relationship, but Jack and Sarah did not. So that is kind of left hanging in a way, but at least it gives us, the viewer, a little resolution as to kind of the deeper what's going on with Jack. Because we all are kind of like Carter, where she says, I didn't even know he had a kid, and he never tells you anything, and he's just, so it was a way to live out his character, being that, I'm not talking about my feelings, but to give us, the viewer, kind of that introspective of what's going on with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could have been so it is kind of like a Starman situation, the old Jeff Bridges movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And I also thought it was very strange how, so Sarah does not know anything about the Stargate because it is a classified program, and Crystal Jack comes and starts talking about the Stargate, so she gets an idea of what's going on, and eventually he starts breaking down because he's not supposed to exist in a physical form, and he needs to go back to the popcorn planet. I don't remember the PX number for it, so I'm just going to call it the popcorn planet. And through that, he ends up, Jack O'Neill, the real Jack O'Neill, ends up talking to Crystal Jack O'Neill, and then Crystal Jack O'Neill turns into a version of their son, who he then brings out to Sarah as like a sense of closure. But for me, that was like, that is probably the most traumatic thing you could do to that woman.
Is Sarah O'Neill still here? I want to actually completely break her. You know, seeing me impersonating her ex-husband wasn't enough. I want to wear her dead son's skin and and completely break her emotionally. Yeah.
It's funny though. I read some stuff online, and some people thought it was good, that it was such a great closure, that she knew it wasn't her son, but she was able to say goodbye to him and get Jack holding his hand. Me as a parent, I'm watching it. I mean, I wasn't a parent when it first aired, and I am now. And I can't even fathom what that would be like. That would tear you up, right? I mean, I think I wrote down on here it was terrifying. So no, but I did see people online said that they really liked it. So I don't know. Maybe they're not.
And I have a young son, and so a lot of what was hard to watch about this episode was just those themes that it dealt with. Like, that was difficult for me to watch at parts, but that part was just like, that was horrifying.
There are some things I did like in Charlie's room, and they don't remark on this at all. It's just kind of a visual Easter egg. While Crystal Jack is talking, and it's way behind him on the wall, completely out of focus, but you can just make out it's a poster that says crystals on it while Crystal Jack is talking to Wally Dalton.
Nice.
Yeah. So I thought that was a nice little Easter egg.
I was going to say, speaking of Charlie's room, of course, if we go back to the movie, there is a plaque or a certificate for Tyler O'Neill with one L in that room. And of course, this is where people have headcanoned, well, his name is Tyler, but is like Tyler Charles O'Neill or something like that. And they just called him Charlie. But yeah, this is one of those things that did change, where it was Tyler in the movie, or at least again in the certificate, where it's Charlie here. And that's what it is from here on. So whenever this character returns, and he does return in one way or the other.
I also have an issue with how poor Jack's gun safety is. Like, you're a trained soldier. You should know how to keep that stuff locked up.
Well, let's be honest. I don't think a lot of people keep their guns locked up like they should, and it includes trained soldiers. It happens, unfortunately.
Right.
They just, whether they don't have gun safes or they think they're safe because they're up on the top shelf underneath the blankets, and no, that's not where my guns are, so you don't go looking there.
Right. And so the kind of the B plot to this episode is Samantha Carter and Daniel Jackson and Teal trying to figure out what's going on. And that was a lot of fun, seeing them work through that without Jack O'Neill as kind of the central character, because he's such a dominating personality. Whenever he's in the room, he's kind of like the focus. I did like that. I liked all that. I liked them interacting with the crystals and figuring out what was going on. I thought it was
interacting. They murder a crystal.
Oh, they didn't know.
With a staff weapon, and then they don't tell the crystal entity, oh, sorry, we killed your mom. It's like, oh, help me. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, those ghouls, they're sure bad. They shot you with staff weapons. Gosh, we would never do anything like that.
No, it was already a broken one. It wasn't like they were taking one that was complete and blasting it. Yeah.
Sorry, we shot your dead mom. I mean, oh, well. But yeah. There is a good line about getting permission to fire the staff weapon in the
that was awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
I did find it unbelievable that Daniel Jackson didn't know what EM was. They had to explain that to him.
Well, and of course that's we're going to explain to the audience who might not know what electromagnetism is by explaining to one of the characters who should know but doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes is when Daniel and Sam Carter will run into Teal'c's room, right? And he says, I mean, they're like two little giddy kids, right? They run in all excited, like, we need your staff weapon, and he's all like, your world is a strange place. And, and they're like, so is yours. And okay, now let's go.
I love that. I love his Daniel Jackson, where it's just literally like, so's yours. Why are you asking? Are you saying this?
Whatever, dude. Yeah. But then they're like so excited, like little kids. And I think that Sam Carter for me is a nice counterbalance to the soldier fighting, the one we've seen a bunch, right? And then this episode, she got to be the, I'm a scientist and I'm all excited and
the geeky scientist.
And I are going to go do all the things. And yeah. So it was kind of I don't know. They just made me smile because they're just like little kids and then there's Teal'c watching videos, of Earth, watching TV. I guess it was. Yeah.
And we do get the follow up to that when Teal'c has to go out of Cheyenne Mountain and he's taking the staff with him. Yeah. And they're like, "Do you need that?" And he's like, "I have seen your world. I will need it."
Yeah.
Although they made a mistake there. They made a big mistake. Where's General Hammond from? Texas. What does the hat say that he hands him?
Chicago.
No self-respecting Texan would hand someone a Chicago hat. It would be a Texan. Isn't that right, Lisa?
That is so true. Those of us in Texas don't acknowledge other states. So yes.
Yeah, it would be a don't mess with Texas hat or something, not a Chicago hat.
It'd be a Buc-ee's. Come on.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a gas station. Yeah.
A gas station? No, I've seen Walmart smaller than Buc-ee's.
Exactly. It's a gas station Texas size.
Yeah. No, I just got a kick out of that when I saw the hat. Yeah. It's like, oh no. He, of course, again, this is early on. They haven't really developed that Hammond is a Texan, Texas Texan. I mean, he's real Texan. They haven't quite developed that yet because I'm sure if they had done it later seasons, it would have definitely been if nothing else, just a hat with the Texas outline on, something like that.
Yeah, Teal'c is definitely at his most Mr. Spock in this episode too. Is like highly illogical,
Yeah.
In Star Trek IV, where Spock has to wear the beanie and Teal'c gets handed the hat, and
he gets handed a lot of hats.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun because it shows you we're going to get a lot more of Teal'c kind of understanding the world and Earth and all of our strange customs. And this was just his first time, right, out of Cheyenne Mountain.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was a point earlier on in the episode where Crystal Jack was leaving and Teal'c's like, "Yeah, you're going to show me your world. I would like to go now." And he's like, "Later." One thing I kind of got a kick out of, or just kind of memories, was, they're wearing the full chem suit. And of course that's nuclear, biological, and chemical suits, the big jacket, the big heavy jackets with charcoal lining on them, and the gas mask and the hoodie and everything. And it's about the only time I've ever been claustrophobic was wearing that stuff in training. Ugh, that's awful.
Doesn't look fun.
It is very uncomfortable. But it was kind of a flashback. It's like, oh yeah, I remember having to wear that stuff once.
And that part was good. The 2319 in the hospital there.
Oh yeah.
Fans of Monsters Incorporated.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and I want to know. I feel like there needs to be some repercussions for that leak of highly classified information that Jack seemed pretty cavalier about.
Oh, I'm sure she was read in or something.
Yeah,
probably had to sign the same document I did. If you tell anyone in the next 75 years or before you die, you go to jail for whatever is left of your life, type of deal.
Ooh, or maybe that's why we never see her again. She's in some black site or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
So she's the first of many civilians who hear the word Stargate.
That's true.
And don't know what it is, doesn't believe it, has no clue, thinks it's just another excuse for him to get out of talking about his feelings.
Yep.
They can just feed her enough disinformation to make her think they're just talking about the Project Stargate from the 1970s.
There you go.
The remote viewing thing that the U.S. government did.
Oh, don't worry. They get into the alternate explanation, or not the disinformation campaign that happens to look like a TV show. We get that going on later too in Stargate.
Oh, that's fun.
That's a good one. Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah. So, okay, a little nod to shippers for Jack and Sam. There's a little nod in this episode. So, obviously, Sarah O'Neill looks a heck of a lot like Sam Carter. Haircut. Now, granted, that was a stylish haircut in the late 90s. Not me, but other women. So she's got the same haircut, right? And then when Crystal Jack first sees her, what is she doing? She's under the hood of her car, messing with it, right? And I believe the first time that Jack invites Sam to go somewhere, what is she doing? She's messing with her motorcycle.
Oh, that's right.
She's got it torn apart on her the floor of her lab or whatever you call it. So I just saw that and I thought, never caught that before, but thought that was interesting. So for all those who shipped Jack and Sam for however many years, Yeah.
Oh, that's very popular. Admittedly, I didn't notice that connection, but I was just looking at the car because that was a pretty nice looking Mustang.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
All the guys are like, "Oh, sweet car."
Oh.
And I'm like, he has a type.
Yeah.
And I'd be remiss in if we didn't mention that if you want to learn more about the CIA's Project Stargate, the remote viewing project, you can check out an episode of Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. It's episode 102, and it's a very good episode if you ever wanted to learn about the real Project Stargate.
Real, quote unquote. No.
Right. But yeah, and I think that's probably the most disappointing aspect of this episode was having Sarah and Crystal Jack process through this, but not really use that as an opportunity to bring them back together. Because Jack O'Neill doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's just gonna like ditch his wife. Like it makes sense that they would have the struggles after their son dies, but having him just kind of, okay, I'm gonna go off now, even though it seems like we've both come to some sort of closure.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that part.
Well, and there is one thing they did do at the end where real Jack, shows that he still has very much feelings for her. You can see that when he walks in the hospital there and everything, that he still has very real feelings for her, but that's as far as it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's something they could have developed, and he even has a line about there's much we need to talk about. We just can't do it right now because, Crystal Jack is about to turn into a nuclear bomb here in this hospital in the next 5 minutes.
And I guess they were probably, from a writing perspective, they were leaving it open-ended so they could either do that in the future, depending on how they took the character, or pair him up with someone else or whatever they wanted to do.
And they dropped it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it showed a real of people who've lost a child. I mean, it's there's a high rate of divorce for people who've lost a child, and so I think that they kind of addressed. I mean, it showed that he couldn't process his emotions the way they couldn't grieve together, right? He shut down. She wanted to grieve with him. I mean, from just knowing people, I think that that's a very realistic portrayal of kind of what happens. And, I think they respected it in that way and didn't try to gloss over, oh, it's all fine now. I'm sure it's a very real and horrible thing to deal with and get through and hopefully come through with your marriage still intact.
I think, is Crystal Jack the only time in the entire show where we see Jack O'Neill cry? Or I could be mistaken about that, but I think it may be the only.
It might be. I'm not really sure. Most of us guys, we don't notice things like that. Yeah, sure.
I don't remember him ever crying besides that. So I might agree with you, Victor.
Plenty of smart aleck comments, plenty of times where you can tell he's mad, but not crying. No, I can't remember that for sure.
Well, and even if I could remember, if I said, it would probably spoiler something for somebody. So, because I can think of one instance that might have happened, but I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's in a trivia online somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was when the ship named after him got destroyed, right? So, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That'd make those guys cry.
Yeah.
So this episode had a couple other firsts. You ready? So the first time aliens escape the Cheyenne Mountain, right? Alien entity gets out. And the first time we have a major character come back through the Stargate who looks like our major character who actually isn't our character.
Yep.
So both of those things get replayed many, many times.
Yeah, there's lots of duplicates of SG-1 throughout.
You got to have that. That's just a staple of sci-fi.
Oh yeah, because you're watching him come through, and he obviously looks stiff and odd, and no one, right? No one's watching him going, "Huh, wonder what's up with him." Right? Yeah. I mean, after you had Kowalski with a Gould in his head and all this stuff, they're just like, "You're good. You're weird. You don't know where the locker room is. Whatever, it's fine."
Of course, when real Jack comes back through, he's acting just like he would, and he's getting all angry when they're like, what's going on? And then he's in the containment chamber, and they're watching the video, and he says, "Let me put this nicely. Get me the heck out of here." And Hammond says, "If that's not Jack O'Neill, I don't know who is."
Yeah. There is a glitch, though, when real Jack is dialing back in to come back in. The Stargate's spinning and the chevrons are locking, and Hammond issues the command to shut down the iris, the locked iris. And they said he can't because he used a transmitter. He used the remote. the wormhole's not established yet. The remote won't reach from, millions and billions of light years away, however far it is.
Oh, really? I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
yes.
so you can hear it, rotating, and
that's a goof.
And he orders it. We can't do it because it's remote. And then you have the swoosh, and he comes through.
But hang on. So later, every team has their own code, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in this episode, wouldn't it have been that's SG-1's code? They're already here, so why would we open the iris?
Well, but the idea is what they're saying though is that the remote locked out the iris is what they're, and that's something that that's something that in the series they go back and forth on, that either they get the code and they open the iris, or the remote unlocks the iris so they can come through, and they don't have to. Yeah, I know what you're saying though, because usually when we think of it, it's there's a code coming through. Oh, it's SG-1's code. Open the iris.
Right.
But then there are times like this where, we got the remote codes, the iris opened, like a garage door opener,
Yeah. Maybe they refine it later.
Yeah.
But they definitely couldn't have sent the code if the wormhole wasn't there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but the wormhole hadn't established yet, so it's kind of, I just kind of happened to notice that because you can hear the Stargate running in the background as he's doing this call, and it's just like, wait a second, what?
There was a lot of weird science in this episode, not just Stargate science, but the line, EM energy in the crystal cloned us electronically gets uttered by Sam Carter, and
that's complete gobbledygook. I did also appreciate the very 90s effect of their face in the crystal.
Yes, like it's like the Abyss, but not,
but cheaper.
Yes.
Yeah. I would say the first couple times I saw this episode, I really struggled to even realize that was Carter's voice. Like none of it really, see her face in there or to hear her voice, that just didn't work for me.
And then the second time the crystal speaks, where it's Carter, I did recognize her voice then. But I'm always bad whenever they, especially, of course, it depends on the special effects, but I'm always bad recognizing faces when they do something like that. Whether it's something like this or where it's supposed to be a clone or something like that. If it's not the actual actor playing it, if it's like a mask or something like that, I'm always bad about recognizing faces like that. So, yeah, I didn't really recognize it was her, but like I said, the second time she spoke, the crystal spoke, that okay, yeah, this is definitely Amanda Tapping voicing this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had to pay attention.
And they also didn't really make clear with the crystals whether they were some sort of like linked organism where it was kind of one being, or if they were each like crystal was its own discrete being. It seemed like they kind of went back and forth on that.
Right.
Yeah, I think they're their own discrete being. I don't know if when Crystal Charlie goes through the gate, does he just like instantly turn back into a crystal, or
his energy goes back to his crystal, or
yeah.
And I was trying to, they said a name for the race of the crystals, and they call themselves the Unity.
Unity. Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if like that meant that they were united, or kind of like a shared consciousness type of deal, or if they were just they were unity, but they were individuals, or kind of how that worked. I don't know if it really ever explores that.
Or maybe that's just the software they use to animate them.
Yeah.
That did not work. Unity.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Or they've got like a big bowl with names in it, and they're like, let's pick this one today.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Unity is a software programming engine.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Graphics and games.
Yep.
Oh, and I was able to find a song for this episode too, something that was recorded when it originally aired. It's actually one of my favorite bands, so I was surprised that I missed this one when it was originally released. But a quirky pop duo, maybe their Tok'ra, released a song about this episode. So hopefully we can put a link in the show notes to that. But from Brooklyn, I love all their stuff. So
nice.
I'm not surprised you haven't heard of them, but
you knew them before they were cool, except for they never became cool.
Yeah, they kind of disappeared right after that song was released.
Nice. They returned to their crystal form.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Their energy exploded or whatever.
Hate it when that happens. All right. Well, Father Cory, did you have anything else to add?
Nothing else here.
Lisa?
Good.
Victor, what about you?
Actually, you guys have won me over. I think I kind of appreciate this episode now. It really taught me that my pain is from an empty place in my heart. So I thank I thank it for that.
Before I go, and I'll drop this link in the show notes, but they have just announced that there's going to be a new Stargate role-play game called Stargate Timekeepers. There's not too much about it now, just an announcement and a short teaser trailer. But apparently it's going to pick up after the events of the 7th season of SG-1, and it's going to be like a role-play game where you can go to different planets through the Stargate and complete missions. So they don't have an announcement date for it yet, but it looks like it could be fun. So we'll see what happens with that.
Sounds a lot better than all the Stargate gatekeepers you find online.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
I was kind of looking at the company that's doing it, and they very much focus on the turn-based strategy and things like that. So it sounds like it'd be something like that, which could be actually kind of interesting in the Stargate universe. That could actually be an interesting way to do it. There had been at one point there was the development of a first-person MMORPG. Massive multiplayer online role-playing game. I can't do the acronym. It's easier to say the whole thing, but that died off very quickly. There have been other games that have tried to develop, and those died off fairly quickly. So it sounds like, but because this one's I'm guessing going to be using their existing engine, this will probably have a better chance of actually surviving and actually coming to market.
Right.
And it's a company that's done other things. They've done a Battlestar Galactica one. They've got a Warhammer 4000 game that's out there that seems to be doing very well. So hopefully they'll actually get this accomplished, and we'll get to play some game in the Stargate universe anyways.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a universe that is ripe for a game.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a lot to build on.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, before we go, I'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create Secrets of Stargate, including Jared H., Richard V., Janelle K., Jerry Ann H., and Katie T. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Be sure to follow the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. To find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. You can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter at SQPN. You can also join the StarQuest fan club mailing list by texting StarQuest to 6686. Send StarQuest to 6686. We'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the next episode of SG-1, The Nox. Until then, Father Cory, thank you for joining me and sharing the Secrets of Stargate.
Thanks, Jack.
Lisa Jones, thank you as well.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you too.
Thanks, Jack.
And once again, I'm Jack Barazzini. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?
Transgressive blue effigy.